Welcome, friends. This is Professor John Gallagher, and I'm sharing a video on one of my favorite examples of technology for competitive advantage, the Inditex Corporation, parent of Zara. Let's learn. One of the greatest examples of leveraging technology for competitive advantage is the fashion giant Zara, a firm that makes up about 70% of sales for its parent, Spain's Inditex Corporation. Zara's success has made Inditex the world's largest pure-play clothing retailer. They're bigger than Gap, they're bigger than H&M, and they've made founder Amancio Ortega one of the wealthiest people on the planet. Tech, focused on enabling a better business model, has let Zara avoid the fashion world's biggest mistakes, and it's helped the firm build a series of advantages that competitors have not been able to match. How successful has this been? Let's take a look at 2 decades of numbers. Revenues, profits, store openings, all up and to the right. This is business magic, utterly unprecedented in clothing industry success. There's simply nothing like it, and there wouldn't be without a technology-enabled strategy. Now, to understand what makes Zara special, let's first look at how most pure-play clothing retailers in the world operate. Think Gap, H&M, Primark. These firms might be a little bit different, but they're all pursuing the same share of wallet in pretty much the same demographic. Now, these firms place big bets on seasonal collections. This means that what they're doing is guessing what customers want to buy months before designs are manufactured and end up in stores. Almost no one in big-name clothing retail manufactures their own stuff. They line up contract manufacturers in some of the lowest wage areas of the world to make and ship pretty much the same thing to all of their stores worldwide. Minneapolis, Milan, you all get the same stuff. Now, when the season rolls around, you advertise like crazy so that everybody knows about your collection, you remind them to head into the store, you cross your fingers, you hope they buy, and you end up running a bunch of sales because that's what customers are trained to expect. Here's the problem. You guess wrong, you're stuck with an inventory hot potato. There's a saying in retail, inventory equals death. You spent money manufacturing and promoting product that no one wants. You've already got the expense on your books, so you've got 2 choices, markdowns and write-offs. Both of these will crater your profits. How bad is this for traditional retailers? Look at rival H&M, the world's number 2 clothing retailer. Earlier this year, the firm reported $4.3 billion in unsold inventory after 6 straight pre-COVID quarterly declines. One analyst called H&M a slow-motion train wreck. Ouch! Even pre-COVID, Burberry, Nike, Urban Outfitter, and H&M were among the retailers that had so much excess inventory that they opted to destroy it rather than use deep discounts or even giving it away as donations because this could erode the exclusivity of their brands. Total profits for all that manufacturing inventory and promotional expense? Goose egg. Nothing. It's 100% loss. Now, Inditex looked at the conventional wisdom in the clothing industry, it saw what wasn't working, and it built something better with technology as the enabler of the better business model. First, they stopped guessing. How do you know what your customers want? Ask them. It's as simple as that. An Inditex manager isn't a shelf-stocking cashier. They carry handheld devices, iOS devices, regularly gathering customer feedback on what customers are looking for. If you spend time browsing in a Zara, a manager might ask you what you think of the current offerings, including the stuff you put back. Now, after the store closes for the day, the store staff acts like a fashion forensics team. They focus on what was tried on and what was put back, and that helps them gather more data and focus questions on getting more information about customer preference. Now, every retailer has a point-of-sale system, the cash register tied to inventory, vital technology. It tells what's selling, but that's not good enough for Inditex. Zara extends this with handheld devices that are a portal to systems used by the staff to gather data on what customers want to see on shelves. Now, there's an important side note here on a common tech and management challenge. Many firms have built and deployed information systems that employees end up ignoring, not using at all. But not at Zara. How come? Zara managers are compensated on store performance. A store's success can make up to 70% of a manager's salary with an additional 10% bonus on overall firm profitability, and it's clear that the use of the system for regular data gathering fuels sales. So staff use the system because they've got skin in the game. So what does Zara do with data? Again, they rewrote the industry playbook. So the other guys use big-name designers for their guesses. Zara sends store-by-store preferences to the Cube, the firm's northern Spain headquarters, where design teams that are prima donna free home in on the preferences of specific markets. And these designers do a lot of product creation. While a company like Gap might create 2,000 to 4,000 SKUs or stock-keeping units during the course of a year, Zara will create over 30,000. Human resources side note, Zara rotates design teams regularly so experienced talent shares insights with the up-and-comers. So Zara has a pretty good idea what customers want. What's next? Well, the firm's most fashionable products are likely not heading for outsourced manufacturing. While rival H&M works with over 900 contract manufacturers and makes none of its goods in-house, Inditex makes 60% of its own goods. In fact, it's so vertically integrated, it makes 40% of its own cloth and even owns a stake in key manufacturing inputs like cloth dye. Now, Inditex does use some overseas contract manufacturing, but that's pretty much focused on staple clothing that doesn't change much. Think t-shirts and jeans. And some of the contract manufacturing partners they do use don't manufacture full product. Instead, they deliver partially complete product that can be dyed, further cut, or have additional finishes like buttons, frills, cuffs added after the specific demands of each market are more clear. What occurs next is a data-driven manufacturing process that's part ballet and part sprint, and it lets Zara go from design to manufacture in as little as 2 weeks. Let that sink in. Many firms are lucky to have 4 months lead time between design and in-store product appearance. Zara has been known to have pop star outfit knockoffs by the final night of a local concert. Now, the speed enabled by vertical integration allows for quick shifts as preferences change. Machines can cut and dye cloth quickly and in smaller lots based on data-driven demand. But Zara also gains the ability to respond to evolving trends. Here's one outside of customer preference. Recently, global cotton prices spiked. Retailers who committed to cotton designs before manufacturing were stuck. Inditex quickly shifted to synthetics and other fabrics, while the other retailers were caught with a margin squeeze because they were locked into designs that were costlier than expected. Now, the speed of this design to manufacturing loop gets new product into Zara stores twice a week. That's by no means just replenishment of the stock that was sold. This is whole new products, new designs coming into the store. Now, more benefits. When you make customers what they want, you get it to them quickly, you shift the business model in other ways that gush profits. For one, Zara isn't afraid to let hot items sell out and then move on to the next hot item. This gives fashion customers something they crave: exclusivity. Nobody wants to show up at the party wearing the same clothes as everybody else. And by manufacturing in small lots, this means if you do make mistakes, and they do make mistakes, they're going to be less costly. Another bonus, if you let items sell out quickly, you never need to put a product on sale. Now, all this changes consumer behavior in fundamental ways. First, customers show up more frequently at a Zara. The average Zara customer shows up 17 times a year. That's versus about 4 times a year at conventional clothing retailers. Only grocery stores and pharmacies see more frequent customer visits. Now, the customers show up frequently because they know each time they come in, they're going to see new stuff, and they buy at full price. While customers at a conventional retailer might walk in, then wait for a sale or a coupon, at Zara, if you don't buy today, the item you like is probably going to be gone by the time you show up again. Now, here's another critical managerial lesson. Brand is not built by advertising. Advertising creates awareness, but durable brands are built through customer experience. Zara's founder Ortega has said that advertising is a pointless distraction. So while the inventory hot potato that other firms experience prompts firms to advertise more for items that aren't moving and then need to be further discounted with sales, Zara's ad spend has at times been 1/80th some of its peers. And those lower expenses mean more profits. Again, how do they build a better brand? How do they build a better customer experience? All enabled by technology. Now, the Zara model is set up to remove as much friction between the customer and the sale as possible. All products sold in all locations worldwide move through the firm's ultra-automated logistics and distribution centers, all of which are located in Spain. Now, the clothes there are ironed, they're priced, and security tags are attached as they're whisked around on overhead racks, and they sit in the distribution center for less than 72 hours before they're shipped to store. Now, by the time the goods get to the store, the staff simply unpacks the items. They're already on hangers, they've already been locally priced, so their loyal customers can just snap up the new duds as soon as they arrive. Loyal customers know exactly when the new goods come in. They refer to these times as Z days. So now think about your staffing. Having store staff price goods and put on security tags is not a value add. This frees them up to be able to help customers and help make sales. And how can Inditex orchestrate all of this upfront work? Technology is used to bundle the shipments, the tags, the hangers, and everything else needed for fast in, fast out distribution. This model is business analytics at its finest. This is math-based decisions, a data dance that helps the firm determine how many of which item in which sizes should be delivered to each specific store during those twice weekly shipments. Analytics make sure that each store is stocked with exactly what it needs. Now, tech is also used to squeeze every item manufactured from the firm's inventory. Zara bet big on RFID. This is a technology known as radio frequency identification. It's the same wireless technology that's used in the ID chips to identify lost pets, or that detect a vehicle during fast-pass toll payments on the highway. Now, these tags simply reflect back a unique number, but if you attach that unique number to a garment from the point of manufacture through sales, then you can scan the inventory using wireless scanners within about 30 feet or less, and you can tell where everything in your enterprise is. So if a customer is in a store and wants an item but the size or color isn't in, a Zara manager can immediately find if it's at another store or at an e-commerce distribution center and have that item shipped to the customer. The sale is made. Now with RFID, almost no items fall through the cracks and are unaccounted for. These tags let Zara staff take inventory 4 times as often as the pre-RFID rate and with greater accuracy, and with only a quarter of the staff needed for inventory take. And to give you a sense of Zara's RFID commitment, the year that Zara rolled out RFID in stores, Inditex purchased 1 in every 6 tags produced for the entire apparel industry. Now, speaking of e-commerce, it's tough. Primark pulled out of e-commerce when it found that shipping costs killed margins or raised overall prices on many of its low-margin items. And at Zara, it might seem that online doesn't work for a model that's so targeted on regional tastes. But Zara has e-commerce hubs warehousing and serving the needs of specific markets worldwide. Show up at the firm's award-winning website and you'll select your market, and that'll make sure that Seattle customers and Berlin customers see different products that Zara's data-driven design suggests they'd be most interested in. Now, Zara doesn't think about e-commerce as something separate. Inditex is really the exemplar for the omni-channel customer experience that's seamlessly integrating the customer experience across all channels, in-store and online. And here's why this is important. Roughly 1/3 of Zara's online sales are delivered for in-store pickup. That's 1 out of 3. 2/3 of its online returns are done in-store. Now, most often this is just to exchange a size, but every customer walk-in visit is an opportunity for an additional in-person sale. Now, the firm's also been experimenting with all sorts of additional technology to improve omni-channel, from automated in-store pickup to augmented reality displays that turn a wall-mounted poster into a catwalk fashion show. So what has strategically focused tech given Zara? Well, the ability to meet customer demand with fewer mistakes, fewer markdowns, fewer write-offs, better margins, more loyal customers who visit more often and pay full price when they do buy, all with less advertising spend. And as the firm became even more successful, they grew in 2 other important ways that are really tough for newcomers to match. Number 1 is they built a durable brand. Again, that was built through customer experience. Customers show up at Zara rather than place a bet with somebody else because they know they're in for a great experience. And Inditex also leveraged scale as it grew. Scale are advantages related to size. It gives you bargaining power, further distribution, and so much more. So you might look at this and say, why doesn't a firm like a Gap copy Zara? They can't. Zara's strategic use of tech is built on an imitation-resistant value chain. That's tech used for sustainable competitive advantage. So now let's take a look at what's happened in the COVID era. Well, it has been brutal on retail across the board. The pandemic has led to a host of bankruptcies of big-name firms, including JCPenney, Neiman Marcus, and J.Crew. And at Inditex, well, no matter how great your tech is, you can't make sales surface out of nowhere when your doors are forced shut. 88% of Inditex Group stores were closed due to COVID-19, and sales dropped 44% during this period. During the COVID quarter, the firm posted its first ever loss. Look at this chart. No losses? Well, during COVID time, they lost 409 million euros in 1 quarter alone. Now that's bad, but at rivals it's been even worse. H&M's total dollar value loss was about 50% bigger, despite the fact that it has over 2,400 fewer stores than Inditex. Now, having strong e-commerce in place was beneficial. E-commerce did boom. One analyst said Inditex built a post-COVID firm pre-COVID. Online sales during the period increased by over 50%, much more than most rivals. Now, what's going to change post-COVID? Well, after 2 decades of year-after-year store growth, the firm's going to begin to trim back some of its least productive stores. Inditex has scheduled over 1,200 stores to close. Now, that's about 16% of all of its stores. It's not just Zara's, but the stores targeted for closure collectively account for only about 5% of business. Now, in many large European cities, there may be more than one Zara within walking distance of the other, or just a transit stop away, so closing stores may be needed to rebalance after 2 decades of relentless growth. And the post-COVID future for Inditex is omni-channel, with even more emphasis on e-commerce. Now, Inditex will spend over €1 billion on its e-commerce infrastructure and another €1.7 billion to integrate e-commerce into its stores. Now, here's another important lesson. When tech is truly strategic, when you use tech to be different than rivals, and when tech is so vital to your business model, you can't simply buy somebody else's commodity technology. You need to build it yourself. Now, this doesn't come cheap. Again, we're talking about nearly €3 billion or over $3 $3 billion in additional investment on top of new systems Zara already deployed. They just rolled out updated and proprietary digital platforms integrating purchasing, inventory, distribution, and orders across all of their channels. Now, e-commerce is tightly integrated into the new system. Online sales were about 14% of revenue in 2019. The firm thinks it's going to be about a quarter of all revenues just 3 years after that. Now, being in a strong position pre-pandemic has also helped the firm endure. Before the pandemic, the firm had over 8 billion euro in cash. Nobody's talking about an Inditex bankruptcy, and it's been able to use its strong position to be a better partner. In fact, the company has said that it's paid for all orders with suppliers, whether they were finished or in production, and the company has also been praised for a recent pledge and an agreement with the Industrial Global Union to protect the workers that it does use in contract manufacturing and overseas markets. Want to know more about Zara? There's a full chapter on Inditex in Information Systems: A Manager's Guide to Harnessing Technology, and thanks so much for letting me share some insights with you. You'll find citations for the stats presented in this video in the Zara chapter of Information Systems: A Manager's Guide to Harnessing Technology. Thanks to the Inditex Corporation for providing such wonderful images and video in the press section of their website. Now, this example is provided for non-commercial educational use only. I hope other faculty, students, and self-learners find it useful. If you do, let me know.